Alright guys, I'm here to give you guys my 5th Walking Dead review of the day. Um, this one wasn't as good as the others I saw today. I would say this one was fine. I thought it was a decent episode, but I didn't think it was as good as the others. Um, just my opinion. And it's this one's season 3, episode 5. It's called Say the Word. And it came out on November 11th, 2012, so it came out on Veterans Day 2 years ago. Um, and the starting was pretty cool. Andrea is at a party with some random guy, and they talk about casual talk. Um, and then we see Philip, the governor, is in his house brushing his daughter's hair, and we see her hair kind of like rip off, and it ends up being, and then we find out that his daughter's a walker, or as they like to call him, a biter. So I guess whatever you want to call him, I think walker sounds better. Um, but yeah, we find out that she's a walker from Walker now, and I guess he's keeping her alive because he doesn't want to kill his daughter, and he kind of comforts her afterwards, and he covers her mouth so she can't bite him. Says, Daddy loves her, and I think he has like her hands tied up. Um, and the girl, Manuku, Manaka, Manikis, Manais. I don't really know what her real name is. I'm just gonna keep calling her Michelle because that's what I'm gonna do. It's an odd name. I don't know. I don't. It's just an odd name. Um, she kind of looks like a person that would be like in a group, in like a gang, kind of. But she would be in a gang, like a woman's kind of gang, and she would be. I don't know if she'd be the leader, but you know. Um, and then it goes to the theme song, and it comes back, and Rick is still and like just kind of out of his mind. They go to the scene where Rick just found out Lori died. So this was the first episode when Lori was dead in it. Um, what happens is Rick is kind of like losing it. He's in crazy mode. Um, and he walks, and I guess, and Herschel says that the baby needs to have formula because they didn't know what to feed the baby. Um, and we don't even know if it's a boy or a girl yet. I think it's a girl. Or boy, I don't even know. Um, but anyhow, you know, but yeah, they said they need formula or else it won't survive. So Dale and Glenn are gonna go get it, but Maggie wants to go instead. And Dale does. At first, Glenn doesn't want her to because after what she's been through with Lawyer, but she said Lawyer would want me to do this, and she goes. And then eventually Rick goes inside the prison, and he starts killing walkers. He's out of his mind right now. He doesn't. He's, I think, a little crazy after hearing about his wife's death. So I think he's just out of his mind right now. Um, and then it cuts back to the town scene of Woodenburg or Waryburg, whatever it's called. Um, and Phillips makes like a speech, talk about how we all came together and we just started out as four people in in a little hotel room full of like spam, just trying to get by. But now look where we are now. And Michelle goes inside the Phillips' house, grabs her sword, and she he reads it. She reads his to-do list, um, and it was kind of odd. Um, I didn't really get a good read at it. It looked like he had girls' names down that he's been with or something. I didn't really get it. And she leaves the house and she finds like a cage full of walkers, and she opens she lets them out and kills them. Kind of the gist of it. Then yeah, so they killed him. She kills the walkers, and she gets caught by someone. He doesn't show who, and Philip comes in and says that you shouldn't be getting involved in stuff that isn't your business. Are you hiding something? And she's like, I don't think I have anything to hide. No, I don't think I need to say if I don't have anything to hide. Um, then he's like, yeah. So then he offers to recruit her for like the army, and kind of like says because he doesn't want her to leave the town because Andrea wants to stay, she doesn't want to stay, which is pretty obvious because it doesn't seem like this is her lifestyle. She doesn't want this life. She liked the life better when she was out in the wild, fighting those walkers. Um, and yeah, but he grabs her, takes her sword and aims it and points it at his neck, like threatens him, and leaves. And she has Mo send in Andrea, and then eventually Glenn is making the graves, I guess, for the people, for like the people that just died, for Lori, Carol, and T-Dog. And Herschel comes up. Well, the prisoners come up at first, and Oscar and the other guy, I forget the other guy's name. But they come up and ask if he needs a hand, and they give it to him. And he talks about Herschel doesn't think the prisoners are bad people. He says whoever caused that disruption caused the loss of the group. And Glenn says that T-Dog wasn't a bad guy. He was a good guy. He was always looking for people for rides, but he was a good guy. He opened the gate for Maggie because it would have been Maggie in this situation right now, which I thought was a awesome, which I thought was a good line. And that they've lost a lot of people, and he'd trade any of them to get theirs back. Then I think Glenn goes to get Rick, and he tries to talk him to sense into Rick, saying, "You don't need to do this all by yourself. We can help you out. We need you to come outside though and stuff." And Rick kind of attacks him. He throws him against the wall because he's not really in touch with reality right now. And he kind of scares Glenn, and he walks off, and Glenn kind of looks at him. And I was thinking, wow, I really would not. If I was a walker, I would not want to mess with Rick right now. And then Andrea goes in to see Philip, and he tells her about what Michelle did, and Andrea's like, well, she tells her how she was attacked. She attacked it. She stole her weapon and stole. And Andrew's like, well, she just took something that belonged to her, and he says that he stole that she attacked captive walkers. And she said, she's like, why do you have captive walkers? And then so then she confronts her about it and says, like, this is why Andrea sucks. This is why I hate her. She is like, she gets suspicious about this, but yet she doesn't completely support Michelle or Maruku or whatever her name is. She just is like, why are you trying to ruin our chances here? We can have a brand new life here. And Michelle, or whatever her real name is like, I thought this was just a couple of days. And he's like, well, maybe now we found the place we're looking for. We don't have to run anymore. And yet you're not even trying to give it a chance, just sabotaging it. And I think she was like, look at it. This thing looks good. Looks like it has everything you want, but it doesn't. There's bad things about it. So I think eventually they go to leave. And Mel's like, okay, well, it's almost past curfew. Well, he's like, well, if you're not going to stay for the power, it's almost past curfew. I have to have an escort take you out. And then Andrea comes up and she's like, well, then Michelle says, see, they're trying to get you to get more of a reason to stay. And Andrea comes up and is like, Philip said that we could leave whenever we wanted to. And Mel's like, why don't you go back over there, Blondie? And the guy opens the gate, and whatever her name. Andrea doesn't want to leave because this is what she's been looking for. She's been trying to find a place that had the water, that had food, water, shelter, and the brand new life that they wanted. And they're not. She doesn't want to leave, and she said that she was sick and tired of being in a meat locker all the time, and she doesn't want to leave. And Michelle was like, "Are you coming or not?" And Andrew's like, "Don't do this to me. Don't make me choose." And Michelle leaves. And Andrea's all upset. And then the gate gets closed, and Andrea looks at Michelle, but Michelle never looks back. I think if she looked back, she would regret her decision. But the fact that she didn't look back means that she doesn't. So then Philip comes to talk to Andrea about it, and he apologizes. He said that normally people don't lose their friend in not these days because people don't normally lose friends these days because of their own choices. Okay, never mind. And he's like, "This may not make you feel better. Let's go get a drink." So then they walk off. And then eventually Rick gets into the room where Lori died in. And this was kind of an odd scene. I kind of got confused by this. I think we saw Lori. I don't think Carl killed Lori because we saw her with no hair and she was fat, the same pregnancy weight that she was. But I don't think that's true. I think this was a different walker. And Rick shoots it in the mouth and he cuts it open his stomach. It was all pretty gruesome. And Dale and Maggie go to get the formula. And during that, Dale kills a possum and he says, he's like, "Yay, dinner," or something like that. And then they get back to camp, and they want to give the baby a name. And Carl's like, Carl names every member of the group besides Lori that died. He wants to give it one of those names. And he's like, or Glory. And Dale's like, "Why don't we name it?" Let me see if it has it here, because I don't remember what he said. And then, by the way, the thing that Dale and Maggie went to was a daycare. Yeah, it didn't say. But it was a cool name, I guess. Oh, and somebody, and what, the zombie, yeah, it was a zombie that ate her. And I guess Rick cut her open. I'm just trying to. So then I'm gonna get back. So then Philip and Andrea get back to it, and everyone's in like a crowd, like they're gonna put on a show. And everyone starts going nuts. And Mo and this random guy comes out. And I forgot to mention too that Mo and the scientist earlier went out and killed a walker. And they killed a couple walkers. And I actually thought Dale was gonna find them there, but he didn't. And they're like having like an MMA fight / wrestling match. I couldn't really tell which one it was because it was sometimes it felt like it was an MMA fight, but they did like a full Nelson, which is like a wrestling move, and yeah. But then the weirdest thing was they were doing it with like walkers chained up. At first, I thought they were gonna do something like the Michael Jackson what's it called the zombie dance that they have. That will bug me now if I don't find that. Thriller. They were gonna do that Michael Jackson Thriller dance, and all of them are gonna dance. I actually thought that was gonna happen, but no, they did this, which was like, what the heck is this? And Andrea isn't happy. This is torture. This is cruel. This is sick. And he's like, "You guys are showing that walkers aren't dangerous," and Philip's like, "No, we're showing that there's nothing to be afraid of." but it was just really weird. It was odd. I didn't get it. And then in the morning, Dale puts the Cherokee rolls on Carol's um, grave, which we know it's Carol's because he always showed her the Cherokee rolls. And I actually forgot that they never ended up getting together. I think that was going to happen too. Um, and then eventually Rick's in the place where Lori died, and he hears in his head he hears a baby crying, which is probably his baby. And then he hears the phone ring, and he picks it up and says hello. And that's the only line he had the whole episode, and that was the end. To be honest with you, I originally thought this episode was just okay, but now that I've started reviewing it and I can just point out all these negatives, it was awful. It was just the drizzling shits. I didn't like it. There's a lot of dumb stuff about it. That Walking Dead show that they did, I don't know what the hell that was. I think once I saw that, I was just like, I don't like this. So this episode, I think, was the worst episode I've ever seen. I didn't like this episode. The only thing that wants me to keep watching the next episode is to see who Rick was talking on the phone to. That's about it. This episode was just bad. I didn't like it. I might be just my opinion, but I didn't like that show they did. It was just like, what the hell is that? It was just like, no. At least they're keeping that storyline fresh with the Philip and Andrea, but it didn't even feel like they really furthered the storyline really. So I didn't like this episode. It's just my opinion. It was just not good. Like, what the hell was that show? It could have been worse though. We couldn't have gotten the thrill. To be honest with you, I would have rather had the thrill of Michael Jackson. And to be honest with you, too, they were just idiots for doing that. You would think Merle would think better of it. And they talked about how it was all staged and stuff. Like, just because it's staged, it could still backfire. Like, can you imagine if Dale saw what Merle was doing? This was just dumb.